What's up, my beautiful people? Exile451 here with yet another daily dose of Reddit Happy. It's Friday, everyone. You made it through the work week. Gonna kick the weekend off with some stories out of r/deciding to be better. So, let's get to it. Our first story comes from user Smoking Tentacles, sharing my story in hopes of helping others. I'll try and keep this as short as possible, but I'm hoping that I can somehow inspire others and help those who actually need it. Throwaway account because sensitive subject. 2016, I graduated high school, and after that, things for me really started going downhill. This was because of many reasons. I had already begun to feel really down because of school, but thinking that I was finally done, I thought I would feel better. I didn't. It just got worse. Time went by and I lost all of my friends, most of them for no reason at all. Some of them for really stupid ones, like this guy's girlfriend saw me as a threat even though we've never had a history of dating or were ever even close, and so forth. The stupid reasons like jealous girlfriends and so forth, I was informed about them years later by these people, so at the time I blamed myself for everything. My self-esteem and mental health were going down a really dark path very quickly after this. I blamed myself for others' mistakes and crappy behavior. I was lonely. I had zero motivation to do anything. Waking up gave me anxiety, and in the end, by the time it was 2017, all I could think about was death. I had no control over my feelings as well. Once I got upset, it was chaos. I could try to hurt myself by beating myself, destroying things around me, being disrespectful towards my parents, having uncontrollable panic attacks daily, etc. Then one day, on one of my darkest days so far, I had a really bad fight with my family. My relationship with them at the time was awful because of my depression and my parents being blind to it. So I went to the train station around midnight, and sat really close to the railway thinking, should I just stand in front and end it? Somehow, something hit me. I thought, well, it can't get any worse than this. It can't get worse than death, so why not try getting help? It can't be worse than death. So instead of being in front of a train, I jumped on it. Went into the city to a mental health institution where I was the only person in the emergency room. I waited for about 15 minutes and then a psychiatrist talked to me alone in a room. I spit out the whole truth. I was so tired of feeling like this. I wasn't myself anymore. I was trapped. Depression was this other person that had taken over my soul, body, and mind. I told him how I was close to killing myself that day, how I saw no light at the end of the tunnel. I had no hope. I broke down in front of him in anger and desperation. He listened and he told me I was going to be hospitalized. It took them 5 hours to get me to the hospital I was going to stay in, and during those 5 hours, I had panic attacks. I wasn't allowed to go. They'd force me to stay. They held me down and I hated them for it. But today, I'm so freaking thankful they did it. Once again, I was all alone. Nobody knew my situation, not even my parents, neither of the 2 friends I had left. I did this all by myself. Once I got hospitalized, I had to call my family and tell them. It was really hard, but it was a huge relief. They were supportive and there for me. They just had no idea my depression was this bad. Finally, I got to talk to doctors, psychiatrists, having to tell my depressing, awful story for what felt like 100 times, nearly giving up, but somehow, some way, I stayed strong. About a year later of many appointments with my psychiatrist, being hospitalized, and speaking to my therapists, things started to turn. I learned all these things I had no idea about. Where my depression came from, what the roots of it was, my inability to handle my emotions and feelings, how to handle them, and so forth. Things were looking brighter, and one day they told me I was finally allowed to work. I wasn't before because of my state of mind, but now I finally could, so I applied for jobs immediately to get a routine in my life. Got a job, still talked to my therapist, realized that I freaking loved my job, my view of the world changed, and I changed so much. I grew so strong, I became a much better me. I'm still improving, but I was all in all changed for the better. At the start of 2019, I was finally able to end the contact with the psychiatry and with my therapist. Having to end the contact and them letting me go was a huge step for me. I cried happy tears because of how far I had come. They and me thought I was in a really good position, which I was. From having panic attacks at least 2 times a day to not having any at all, I learned to control them and myself. Being happy, knowing how to think, how to handle my emotions and feelings, being positive, and so much more. There's an incredible quote from one of my favorite songs that goes, "Be careful of the thought seeds that you plant in the gardens of your mind, for seeds grow after their kind." Fast forward to today. I have an amazing job where I literally met all of my new friends. I have had wonderful memories, I'm as happy as ever, my self-esteem has drastically improved, I feel motivated, and I haven't had a panic attack in a year. I'm so incredibly proud of myself, and I sometimes forget how strong I am. I'm so happy I didn't take my own life back at the start of 2017. I would have never experienced the wonderful things and memories I have today. I wouldn't have met all these new wonderful people that filled my life with joy. I would have never gotten this amazing job I have. I would have never been able to travel as much as I've done and see the world, and most importantly, I would have never become the me I love today. If you can relate to my story or are just feeling down, get help. I know people say it all the time, but oh my gosh, getting help really is the cure. You have to be willing to take that help. You have to be strong and believe. You have to also put in the effort. You have to make the change. The therapists and psychiatrists are there to guide you and help you along the way, but you are the one who can make the big change for yourself. Stay strong, believe in yourself, even though it can be impossible. Remember that it can't get worse than death, and it can only get better. Wow. That is quite the emotional roller coaster there. Frick. Well, OP, that wasn't exactly a short post like you tried to make it, but still, regardless, that was incredibly useful. Thank you so much for opening this kind of window into viewing your life. That kind of depression and anxiety, yeah, it can suck. It can be really difficult to overcome and deal with, but getting help is always that first step. It's tough. It can suck. It can be beyond difficult to admit that you've got a problem and to open up in front of someone else, to admit that you're weak and you can't handle it. But there's really that unfair stigma about mental health, because if you broke your foot, no one would judge you for going to a doctor. If part of your mind is broken, there shouldn't be any judgment for going to see a therapist. You did the right thing, and now it seems like everything's working out for you. Your story is just an example of what mental health counseling and being willing to humble yourself and accept that help can do for someone in their life when they're struggling with this sort of stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing this post, and wherever you're at right now, I truly do wish you the best in your life. Our next post is from user Jacob1988 Denmark. But first, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you can get more of your daily dose of Reddit Happy. From shy and awkward guy to confident and outgoing guy. Hey everyone, I love to be in this group. I'd like to share my personal story on how I went from a shy, socially awkward guy with no confidence to a very outgoing guy with lots of confidence, more friends, and in a great relationship. Just a warning, it's gonna be a long post. About 5 years ago, I was in my mid-20s and I had my first job as a controller/accountant, which didn't involve a lot of social interactions and I was pretty much working alone. Back then, I used a lot of my spare time watching TV shows, playing video games, and chatting with people online. And that was just my problem. I didn't have a social life at all. Back in high school, I went to some parties, but even when I got drunk, I didn't talk to anyone. I was just sitting there awkward in my head and not knowing what to say or how to engage with people. I didn't feel good enough. I felt that if I started to talk, people would judge me. I have no idea what to say to people. This really frustrated me, and over the years, the problem was the same. I kept asking myself, why me? I'm a pretty cool guy, why am I having these problems? Why can't I just have a regular conversation with someone without feeling nervous and anxious all the time? I felt so much resistance every time I should go to someone and talk to them. I felt that I was taking something from them and making their day worse. I thought to myself, how can I give other people value when I am not even able to give myself value? The imposter syndrome. When people started conversations with me back, then I immediately got nervous, anxious, and answered shortly with a few words. I looked at other people and they made it look so easy to interact with people. It looked so natural. My thoughts back then were, some people have it and some people don't. I'm born this way and my situation can't be changed. I'm an introvert. People just don't understand me. I wished that people would understand how I felt without judging and pointing out that I was shy. I wished I just had the confidence to talk to a girl and know how to make friends. I was in my 20s and I felt that I was missing out on everything. It was so frustrating and annoying that when an opportunity came, I felt paralyzed and didn't take action. Every time I tried to start a conversation, I thought it would go wrong and people wouldn't find me interesting at all, or that I would run out of things to say and have a lot of awkward silences. I took too long to build up courage to talk to people, and that resulted in not initiating the conversation. Even my parents back then asked me, why do you not go out and meet new people, be more social, and find a girlfriend, etc. They also didn't seem to understand how I felt. I was too shy and didn't have the confidence to put myself out there and go to events by myself. And that is why I couldn't find true meaningful friendships with people who had the same interests. I really wished there was a way to overcome that obstacle and finally get cool experiences with people I had something in common with. People who understood me and accepted me for who I am. People who don't judge me and that can fill out that big empty space I had in my life. I started researching on the topic and found a lot of YouTube videos with theory and practical advice. But it didn't help me. I just didn't know where to start. At some point, I just thought to myself, screw this. I don't want to keep living like this. I need to change, and even though it might not be perfect, I will start today. Then I pushed myself out there and started going out alone. I got out of my little comfort zone and started taking action and responsibility for my life. It was so difficult in the beginning, but suddenly I started meeting new people and making friends. I actually turned my fear into excitement. I still have fear, but instead of running away from it, I am accepting of it and then use it as motivator to go for it, regardless about how I feel. Now, I'm pushing myself every day to get out of my comfort zone and do what scares me, because I know it's good for me and it will help me grow. It's only now I feel like I am alive and actually jumping on opportunities that life brings me. I like to be that social guy who talks with people in the gym, at events, at my job, in bars, etc. Today, I have a great relationship and friends I can do everything with, and I wish for anybody who is still having problems to be able to have the same. If you can resonate with my story, and if you read until now, the chances are high that you're in a similar situation that I used to be in. Tell me your experiences. I'm curious to hear your inputs. Comment below or feel free to send me a private message. Well, OP, your story, just like the first one here, just adds to the overwhelming evidence that you control who you are. It doesn't matter how you're born or what you think about yourself. It's all about what you want to do with your life, what you choose to do. If you take action, if you're willing to step outside that comfort zone and stretch yourself, you will see the improvement that you want. Think of it like building a muscle. It's never going to grow if you don't stretch yourself and deal with that pain of that first curl, that first sit-up, that first rep, whatever it takes. But eventually you look back and you see how big or how defined that muscle's become, and you realize just how much you've grown. Your story just proves that out, that it is always possible to grow, that it is always possible to improve. Thank you so much for sharing it, and wherever you're at right now, I truly do wish you the best in your life. That was r/deciding to be better, and if you want more stories about people making changes in their lives for the better or inspirational stories of what people have done, then go ahead and check out that playlist link in the description below. Now you guys go out there, have a great weekend. I will see you all on Monday. Until then, I'm Exile451. Stay beautiful, people.